It's time to recognize our roots, go back to Africa, to know all the reasons that we're spread over the diaspora. You know our culture keeps us connected to our motherland. To all our brothers and sisters, let us now extend our hand.
We will have a gathering. We'll bring our whole family. We'll explore our family tree. Celebrate our history. Yes, come together now, it's Kwanzaa time. Yes, come together now, it's Kwanzaa time.
Hello, I am Robbie Mathews. I am the president of the Mathews Entrepreneur Group, and I would like to thank Ms. Wanda Muhammad for inviting us, my husband Michael, who's the CEO, to participate in the Kwanzaa celebration. We are your strategic net worth coaches. We provide financial literacy education and coaching to help you learn how to get debt-free, stay debt-free, spend guilt-free, and live financially free. The fourth principle of Kwanzaa is focused on cooperative economics, and it is important that we learn financial principles because it is very important and critical to our survival. As Black Americans, we have $1 trillion in buying power. However, we are not spending that money in the Black community. We have to make some significant changes in how we think about our money, how we act with our money, and how we feel about our money in order to make some drastic changes to leave money in our community so that we can make better choices and provide financial security for our families.
Hello, happy Kwanzaa. I'm Michael Mathews, the CEO of the Mathews Entrepreneur Group. And like my wife stated earlier, we are your financial literacy educators. And we are here to empower our younger generation not to make the same mistakes that I myself made and other people in our generations. But let me tell you a little bit about myself so you know where I came from as to how I got here on this journey. I grew up on the south side of Chicago playing basketball in an alley with the bicycle rim as a hoop attached to a pole, and we used the pole as the backboard. But I went from playing in that alley to playing in some of the largest arenas across the United States and overseas in Europe. But early in my career, because of my lack of financial literacy education, I spent all of my money on clothes, cars, wine, you name it, I did it. And I went broke. I spent all of my money, I drained my bank account, my car got repossessed, I filed for bankruptcy. Because I was deep in debt, I felt ashamed and I felt like a failure. So I had to reinvent myself with financial literacy education in order to be sitting here today. And those are the steps that we're going to take in terms of our 7 Live Financial Free principles that we're going to talk about later on in the telecast. So you have to keep your mind open like a parachute in order to have a new financial paradigm so you cannot repeat the same mistakes that most people do when they have a lack of financial education. And coming from the school systems here in Chicago, I was not personally taught financial education. We had home economics, but nothing about financial economics. And that actually carried on into my adult life until I made the decision. Question. How many of you have ever looked in the mirror at that self-reflection and said, it's time to make a change? Well, my change was I no longer wanted to be broke. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of being broke. And that made us write our first book in 2007, which is Financially Speaking, The Best Improvement Starts with Self-Improvement.
Yes, Michael and I had different journeys, but we both wound up in the same place once we met. And it's important to understand, and speaking to our young people, that some of the advantages that we had growing up, you may not have today. So one of the things you're going to have to do is make a choice, as Michael has said, make a choice about how do you want to live your life in the future. You're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to have to learn, start reading books about finances, start reading magazines, instead of emulating the way someone looks, or your celebrities, your favorite athlete looks, and wearing their clothes and buying their products, you should emulate their business acumen. Well, how did they get the money to have these products? How did they earn their living beyond just playing basketball or making a record? So there are many things that you can start doing today in your life as a young person to not make the financial mistakes that Michael said that he made. I grew up as a young single mom, and I had to make some choices. I could have stayed and stayed on welfare, and could have, decided to be what we call a 40-40-40 person. So what is a 40-40-40 person? That is a person that works 40 hours a week for 40 years of their life to live off of 40% of their income. We have to change that legacy and create new legacy and economic wealth for our families and for our community.
Yes, and our 7 Live Wealthy Principles is what Robbie and I live by, and we can test by, and we call it From Main Street to Wall Street Education, as it was our journey, because we made the decision to not look at the shows and programs of people telling you or us that you cannot be wealthy, or you cannot succeed, you cannot do that just because of the neighborhood you came up in, or the school you went to, or the lack of resources that were in your community. So for every goal that you have to set a date and a target date. So when my wife was on a trip in London, a business trip, I wrote our first book titled Financially Speaking, which I spoke about earlier. And in that book is where the birth of our 7 Live Wealthy Principles came from. And those principles have allowed us to be debt-free, spend guilt-free, and live financially free. I'm humbly with gratitude saying this because we don't want you to make the same mistakes that we made.
Absolutely. I'm going to share some of the principles with you so that you'll have an idea of how you can actually live wealthy. And when we talk about wealth, don't get wealth confused with becoming a billionaire. Wealth is what you define for yourself and what you want for your family and for your future. If you just want to have a nice home or a car, whatever it is you want to have, you can have it, but you have to take action, you have to make a plan. So our first principle, which starts with W, because each letter in the word wealthy represents one of our 7 principles. So W means the wealth mindset. You have to stop thinking broke. You have to start thinking wealthy in order to be wealthy, because you are what you think. So if you think you can do it, then you can do it. You have to become a cat. And what do I mean by become a cat? That means you have to commit to financial literacy education for yourself. You have to become accountable to your actions. Make a plan and stick to it, and then work with someone to help you become accountable. And T is you have to tell the truth about where you are financially and where you want to be in your future. The second principle is E for entrepreneurship. You have to grow, and grow means right now, and some of you are young, maybe you haven't started a job, but you're thinking about a job. So you're in the grind, that's the 9 to 5, but you have to grow beyond the grind. You have to retire your boss, which is something that I actually did. I walked into my boss's office and said, by the way, I'm done, you're fired, I'm going home. And he was not very happy with that, but I was ecstatic, all right? So learn how to fire your boss. Well, the way you do that is you have to become an owner of something, or an investor, a business owner, an investor. Stop being a consumer, because we're consuming. We spend $27 billion on telephones, people. Come on now. We spend $18 billion on just messing around, leisure, toys, things of that nature. We can take that money, build a business, and generate wealth for our people, for our families, and for our community. So stop being a consumer and learn to be a producer. Become an entrepreneur. And in our book, Financially Speaking, Michael is going to read for you one of the poems that he's written called Entrepreneurship.
Okay, this is dedicated for the youth simply because we don't want you to suffer on the 40-40-40 plan. Now, having a job is better than nothing, but you should dream bigger, dream higher, to do something that your parents might not have been able to do. So the poem is titled Entrepreneurship. From Andrew Carnegie to Napoleon Hill, entrepreneurs have flourished from determination and sheer will. From Jobs to Zuckerberg, Winfrey and Gates, entrepreneurs are still flowing at alarming rates. You have an idea, now start your business like millions before you. You also bear witness. Use market research, identify and learn more. When will your dream open up its door? Use mastermind groups, evaluate what they say. Is your plan solid? Do you forge on the same way? Now you possess your burning desire. You will always continue to soar higher and higher. Always persist. I'm sure you've been told the keys to success in your heart you do hold. Entrepreneurs often think outside of the box. Keep on learning, become smart like a fox. With a positive mental attitude and your thick skin, if you never quit, in the end you will win. I have 3 questions for you. Do you think it's hard to be a billionaire? I think it is. Do you think it's hard to be middle class? I think it is. Do you also think it's hard to struggle? I think it is. So since all 3 of those questions are hard, why not choose 1 or 2? Because it's crowded at the bottom. If you want to measure your success, every time you have an idea, you have a goal, you have a dream, you write it out, a plan, and then you take action toward that plan, and then you see who your followers are or your leaders are. Who wants to become successful doing something differently than the 40-40-40 plan?
Yeah, so in terms of entrepreneurship, as we stated, the last part of the grow is the W, and that's where you start to build the wealth. With being an entrepreneur or being an investor, you can start having your money work for you instead of you working for your money. The third principle is called asset management. And to break it down and to keep it simple, that is your money. It's very important. So you need to track it. You need to watch what you spend your money on and where you're spending your money. As we had said earlier, in the Black community, we have over $1 trillion in spending power. Could you imagine if we spent more than the 2% today that we're spending in the Black community? We spend 50% of that in the Black community, how much impact that would have on our community? Well, spend your money carefully, spend your money correctly. It's okay to spend money on the things that you need for today, but you need to spend today for what you need for the future. Otherwise, you won't have a future. So be sure to spend your money in the right places. We don't advocate budgeting, we advocate spending correctly and being focused on where your money goes and understanding where your money goes. The 4th principle is called L, for leave a legacy. We have to leave something behind for our future generations. In order to do that, we need to teach our children, our children, parents that are listening, teach your children financial principles so that they will become financially independent and not dependent on you as adults. Also, protect your assets. Get insurance to protect your children, protect your assets if something unfortunate happens to you, so that they'll be able to live and not have to depend on other people to take care of them. And create an estate plan. Write down your wishes. Where do you want your money to go? Who do you want your children to be taken care of by? Because if you don't make those choices, the state is going to make those choices for you, and they may wind up somewhere where you don't want them to be. So make a plan, write it down. It's not that difficult. The next principle is T for tithing and philanthropy. Basically what that means is giving back to the community, because what much is given, much is expected in return. So giving back to our community is very important. Michael and I are part of an investment group and we have donated 1.9 million sandwiches to the community through our investment group. being a philanthropist means that you can do much more than tithing every Sunday. Tithing is wonderful. It helps the church continue to grow. But think wealth, think more, think bigger impact through becoming a philanthropist. And the sixth principle is, to me, I think, almost one of the most important principles, and it's called healthy living. Stop eating the junk food. Stop eating the fast food, because it's leading to diabetes, heart attack, all types of diseases within our community. So if you do manage to get wealthy or accumulate some financial resources, you're going to wind up spending all your money on doctors and medicine. That money could go to a much better use in the community. So stop eating all that stuff. Go to the doctor. Even if you're young, go to the doctor and get your physicals and make sure that you're okay. Early prevention is a wonderful thing. And the last principle is the why. Because at the end of the day, you have to make a choice. You have to make decisions. Even if as a young person, you can make a choice on how you want to live your life in the future. You can get the guidance from your parents. You can get the guidance from others if your parents don't know. We all know that we grew up with different values, different principles. So even help your parents, help them, make it a family affair to learn financial principles. And help your parents out by not necessarily asking them for the latest cell phones and the latest Nikes and getting that hair weave every month. Ask them to set up a savings account for you and go to the bank with them and take that money and put it into the bank and save it for your future, so you can start a business one day, or you can go to college, or whatever it is you want to do to learn how to grow and to take care of yourself in the future. So those are our 7 wealthy principles. They are W.E.A.L.T.H.Y. And if you start embodying those principles as part of your daily life, then you can live wealthy and you can become debt-free for those that have a job and credit cards. For the young people that don't have a job yet and credit cards, learn how to use those credit cards to your advantage. You can actually have your credit cards make money for you if you know how to use them correctly, as opposed to getting into debt. You can do these things. You can spend guilt-free, because if you're spending on your plan and you know where your money is going, then there's no guilt associated with that. And ultimately, by growing wealth and building wealth, you can ultimately live financially free. And that's what we advocate, and that's what we are looking and hoping that that you will take control of your personal finances.
And our goal and our mission is to help you think differently about your money. Because money is your friend, it's not your enemy. You've heard people say money is the root of all evil. Well, no, it's not money is the root of all evil. It's the person that uses the money incorrectly that makes this transaction evil. We want to help change how you act with your money. Act responsible with your money. If you want to earn some income, and regardless of your age, you can do some odd jobs around the house, get a paper route. You can start young now and practice saving habits. And we want you definitely to make sure that you have a savings account so you can start saving. And the number one thing is paying yourself first. And that will give you a dream. Martin Luther King had a dream. So here is a poem titled Dare to Dream. Choose a wish, find a dream, pick a shooting star. Let your hopes and spirits soar high and free and far. Reach for the unreachable, then stretch to touch the sky. No dream you treasure is too far away and high. Believe in the impossible, then work and try and do. For those of you who dare to dream, you can make your dreams come true. We're sitting here today because we were dreamers and we didn't quit and we didn't give up, and we listened to somebody just like we hope you are listening to us. If you only pick up one nugget and utilize the one nugget and teach it to somebody else, then your financial literacy education has been a success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Ancestral soul. It goes on and on. Our faith is strong. just